So when it comes to dealing with a lot of lower body injuries, one of the first things I'm inclined to hear is, I've still been doing my stretching. Now, I'm not anti-stretching, but in terms of dealing with injuries, it's definitely not a go-to tool I would use. For no particular reason in terms of it causing problems in most cases, but it does cause some issues, and we're going to come on that in a second, but rather it doesn't really deal with the problem in hand, which we'll go into in another video, of the fact that when things are stiff and tight and what have you, it's not so much that they need to be strengthened, they actually generally need to be stronger. And the issue lies more there. But in terms of where stretching can actually be a problem, there's especially three kind of lower body ones, and we'll look at two in particular. So if you're thinking of Achilles tendon pain, so Achilles tendinopathy, proximal hamstring tendinopathy, and gluteal tendinopathy. So if we look at really just two of those in particular, probably the more common ones, the Achilles and the hamstring. So with Achilles, stretching probably in terms of for where it's in the body of the tendon isn't such an issue, but doesn't really provide the stimulus that we're looking for to create the changes that we require that will promote healing and getting rid of it in the long term. But with insertional Achilles tendinopathy, we're going to see a problem there. Now, when I say insertional, your Achilles is here and runs down and attaches onto the heel. So let's say there's two types. We can get Achilles tendinopathy, in the body of the tendon, but we can also get it where it attaches, and it's where it, when it's this Achilles tendinopathy, where the pain is around the heel itself, that's an issue because of the compressive nature of it. That's where the irritation comes from, where the tendon's getting pulled against the calcaneum. We really don't want to stretch it. The last thing we need to be doing is actually creating more of the problem that causes it in the first place. So we're creating this compressive loading through stretching it, rather than actually doing anything to address it. So what we're doing, we really are actually making the problem worse in an attempt to make it better. So even when I'm using sort of loaded exercises, calf raises and what have you for it, these are all in insertional tendinopathy for the Achilles. These will always be done just straight off the floor. There'll be no step or anything involved, because we're just looking to avoid getting into that situation where we're actually making the problem worse. Then when we're looking at proximal hamstring tendinopathy, so your hamstrings attach here, so they're attaching in behind the knee here, and then here, and then obviously they come from right up, just underneath your glutes. If you've got a problem there, sort of at the top part, right at the attachment, it's a very similar issue to the insertional Achilles problem, whereby it's a compressive loading. Quite often we find with runners where it'll start where they've introduced hill reps too quickly, maybe not done any for a long time, and then just crack on with a program, rather than introducing a low volume of it and gradually building up and allowing time to adapt. If we start stretching to resolve that problem, again, very, very similar to the Achilles one, we're just going to make it worse because we're applying this compressive loading to the tendon, which it really doesn't want, when in actual fact the myriad of other things going on that were probably one of the reasons why it started in the first place. I know from myself, I'm not anti-stretching. I will do some static stretching most evenings as a means of just helping with general relaxation. But I dropped out one of the movements I was doing because it actually was creating a proximal hamstring problem for me. I'd done it. It was a new stretch for me. I'd taken out of yoga, where I was actually just looking to bend forward, sitting on the floor, it started creating an issue for me right at the top of my hamstring. So after 2 or 3 days of doing it, I was like, yeah, that's actually getting worse. Yeah. And I just stopped doing it. And fun enough, as soon as I stopped doing it, problem went away. So you've got, there's good, I suppose you could say there's good stretching and bad stretching. And in terms of stretching in rehab, I actually don't like it at all. I don't think it's a good use of your time. There are so many other areas that we can address in terms of making sure that you're basically strong enough, that you're, especially if we look at lower body stuff, that you're spreading the load through the lower body well, that you can actually decelerate properly, so that when your foot hits the ground, that you are actually absorbing the load properly as it comes up through the ground reaction force. Because remember, if you're running, just out for a gentle run, that's 3 times your body weight through your leg every time the foot hits the ground. Soleus has to deal with peak forces of 7 times your body weight. So there's a lot of work required to be done. So we need things working well, distributing this load well through the lower body in order to handle that kind of stress. There'll be more coming up on that over the next few weeks. But in terms of stretching, gentle, easy, especially sort of flexion-based stretching to help you relax is a great thing. We'll do a video on that at some point as well. But if you're stretching for rehab in somewhere where you think you've got an Achilles problem or there's a hamstring issue, ditch it and get it checked out, because the chances are, if you've been doing it for any length of time and you're seeing it's not getting any better, it really isn't going to get any better with stretching. There are a lot of other things that are required to be done in order to improve it, and stretching isn't one of them. So there we go, there's a little tip on stretching in terms of dealing with insertional Achilles tendinopathy and proximal hamstring tendinopathy.